Before we start, please subscribe to this amazing video. It helps this story reach more people who might need to hear it. My name is Scarlett, and for most of my life, I've survived by lowering my expectations, especially when it came to my parents. I live in a small apartment by the coast, just me and my little girl Ellie. She's 7. She loves glitter, drawing unicorns, and humming when she's happy. And this is the story of the moment everything changed for us. The morning everything shifted. By 9 in the morning, my dad was outside my door. Fists pounding, voice shaking the walls, yelling my name like I owed him the world. But scenes like this don't start with shouting. They start quietly, softly, with one message, one decision, one line that cracks something inside you. Mine began with a text from my mom that I remember the exact moment. Ellie was sitting at the table, coloring a unicorn, wearing a crown. She had glitter everywhere, even on her eyelashes. She looked up at me with those hopeful, bright eyes she got from me. Though hers still hold more light than mine ever did. I was slicing strawberries for her lunch when my phone buzzed. I wiped my hands, picked it up and read, "We're skipping your kid's birthday. Things are tight. No explanation. No apology. Just a statement." Cold as a receipt tossed onto a counter, I stared at the screen for a long moment. I forced my breath to stay, even so Ellie wouldn't hear the break in it. And I typed back the only words I knew how to say after a lifetime of disappointing moments. No problem. But it was a problem. Not for me alone. For Ellie, for the little girl who spent all month drawing a birthday card for her grandparents. But I pushed it down, like I always did, like I'd been trained by years of walking on emotional eggshells, trying to make the day perfect. Alone, her birthday came that weekend. Rain hit the windows sideways, the kind of cold rain that makes the whole house feel quieter. Ellie wore her little purple dress. She spun in circles in the living room, humming softly. She asked if we could make cupcakes instead of buying a cake, so we did. I let her pour the sprinkles even though she made a mess. I didn't care. Her laughter filled the room, and for a moment it felt warm again. 2 of her school friends came by. Their parents dropped them off with small gifts. Nothing fancy but thoughtful. The girls danced, played games, ate way too much frosting. Ellie smiled, truly smiled. But when the day slowed down, when her friends went home, when the music faded, she walked over to the table, picked up a cupcake and stared at the single candle. Then she whispered so quietly I almost missed it, "Maybe next year." She didn't cry. Kids learn too early how to hide heartbreak. She just cleaned up the glitter. Tiny hands moving slowly, trying not to look sad, and something inside me ached. A familiar ache. The kind that sits in your ribs and refuses to leave. Christmas, the final break. Christmas came fast. Bills, work, everything piling up. But Ellie was excited, counting down with little paper rings around her wrist. That morning, she sat by the window in her red pajamas, holding the drawing she made for my parents. 2 grandparents holding hands with a little girl between them. A heart above their heads. She waited. And waited. And waited. No calls. No messages. Not even an accidental emoji. Around mid-afternoon, she finally drifted away to watch a movie. And that's when I made the mistake of opening my laptop. The moment the screen lit up, I saw it. A Christmas tree taller than their ceiling, piles of gifts, balloon arches, my sister's kids tearing into presents, my mom holding a glitter-covered box, everyone smiling like it was the perfect holiday. And above it all, the caption, "So blessed to be with our favorite little ones." Favorite. The word hit like a punch I didn't see coming. I didn't know Ellie was behind me until I felt her tiny hand on my arm. She saw the screen. She saw everything. Her face went still. Too still for a 7-year-old. Then she whispered, "They forgot me again, didn't they?" I couldn't answer. I couldn't lie. I just held her, while she stared at people who couldn't bother to show up for her. That was the moment something inside me didn't just crack. It shifted. A clean, sharp line between what I had accepted my whole life and what I would no longer allow, and that line, that boundary, is what led to the storm waiting at my door the next morning. The night after Christmas, the apartment felt different. Quiet, but not the peaceful kind. It was the kind of quiet that settles over you like a heavy blanket, the kind you can't breathe under. Ellie fell asleep beside me on the couch, still holding the golden navy painting she made the night before. Her little hand was curled around the edge of it, like she was holding on to something only she understood. I tucked a blanket around her, brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself just stand there, still, thinking, feeling everything I'd pushed down for years. I walked to my laptop, opened it slowly, not for doom scrolling, not to make excuses for people who didn't deserve them this time. I opened the Payments tab. And there it was. Years of automatic transfers. Lines and lines of money that had quietly slipped out of my account every month. Phone plans, insurance, memberships, little emergency amounts that had somehow become routine. It was like looking at a map of every time I chose them over myself, over Ellie, over the peace we never knew we could have. My hand hovered for a moment, but it wasn't fear. It was clarity. A quiet clarity. The kind that feels like stepping out into cold morning air after being suffocated indoors. I clicked cancel on the first one. Then the next. And no dramatic music. No shaking hands, just calm. A strange, steady calm that made my whole chest feel lighter. By the time the sun rose, everything they depended on me for was gone. Not out of revenge. Not out of anger. Out of protection. For me, and for Ellie. If they couldn't show up for a 7-year-old little girl who loved them with her entire heart, they didn't deserve to live off mine. The phone buzzes, but not from who I expected. Around mid-morning my phone buzzed. My heart jumped. Some part of me still expected an apology. But of course it wasn't my parents. It was my sister Marissa. Scarlett, Dad's losing it. Mom's crying. Everything got shut off. Did you do something? Her voice wasn't angry. It was tired. Sad in that familiar way only adult children of dysfunctional families recognize. I took a breath, steady and calm. I'm just done, I said. That's it. Nothing more to explain. There was a long pause on her end. Then a soft, surprising word. Good. That one word meant more than she knew. She understood. In her own quiet way. She always had a new kind of day. The rest of the day moved differently. I washed dishes. I folded laundry. I cleaned the glitter Ellie somehow manages to get into every corner. But everything felt lighter. Like someone had opened a window in a room I didn't know had been closed for years. I wasn't waiting for a crisis. I wasn't bracing myself for a call. I wasn't carrying someone else's chaos on my back. That night, I helped Ellie put her new books on the shelf. She leaned her small head on my shoulder and said, I like when it's just us. And something inside me, something bruised and tired and stretched thin from years of giving too much, finally softened. This quiet life, this simple, gentle space was all she ever needed. All we ever needed, but peace, real peace, always comes right before the storm, and ours arrived at exactly 9 o'clock the next morning, at exactly 9:00 am. The storm arrived. It didn't creep in quietly. It didn't come with a phone call or a warning. It hit my front door like a fist made of thunder. Bam, bam, bam. Each pound shook the door frame. Hard enough that Ellie jumped and almost dropped her cereal bowl. Her little hands trembled. Milk sloshing over the edges, her eyes wide. Scared in a way I never wanted her to look. I took a slow breath. Steady, grounded. The kind you take before stepping into a moment you can't avoid. I pulled her gently behind me. Stay right here, baby. Okay? Stay behind me. She nodded, her small fingers gripping the back of my sweater. And then there it was. Scarlett, open this door. Now. My father's voice cracked through the hallway like a whip. Familiar in the worst possible way that I knew that voice. I knew the rage in it. I knew the entitlement sitting underneath every syllable that it was the voice of a man who had just lost control of something he thought he owned. That I unlocked the door, but I didn't open it wide, just half an inch. Just enough that my dad's face filled the gap. Furious, eyes wild with disbelief. Behind him was Linda, clutching her purse like it was a life preserver. Valerie and Tessa stood behind them, crossed arms, judgment-ready faces, the family audience. Always there for the drama, never for the truth. What did you do? My dad spat, leaning into the crack of the door. The phone's dead. The insurance is gone. Even the damn membership. You think this is funny? He shoved the door with his palm that I planted my foot behind it. Didn't move an inch. His eyes darted past me, searching, landing on Ellie peeking from the hallway. Oh, you're dragging her into this? He snapped. You're poisoning her against her own family. Family. That word, coming from him, almost made me laugh. Family, I said quietly. You mean the family who skipped her birthday because things were tight, then posted a Christmas celebration with balloon arches and mountains of gifts for Marissa's kids? Valerie rolled her eyes. Scarlett, that's not the point. You're being dramatic. Tessa crossed her arms tighter. Everyone's talking about how you overreact again. You always make things bigger than they are. Before I could speak, a tiny voice slipped out from behind me. Ellie stepped forward just enough that they could see her. Her chin wobbling but her voice steady. They forgot me. 3 words. Soft, small, and heavier than anything I could have said. They forgot me again. The hallway fell silent. A silence so thick it pressed against the walls that my dad looked away first. He always looked away when confronted with the truth. We were busy, he muttered. Yes, I said calm. Busy celebrating someone else's kids. Busy calling them your favorites. Linda winced. Valerie's face tightened. Tessa suddenly found her shoes very interesting. Then my dad snapped back, anger rising again. None of this explains why you shut everything off without warning. I tilted my head because I could see it, the real fear beneath the rage. Oh, I said softly. That's not the real crisis here, is it? His face twitched. What are you implying? I didn't answer with words that I stepped back inside. Picked up the printed packet from my table and handed it through the crack. He didn't take it, but he read the top line, and his face drained of color. The moment his lie broke open, it's a loan application, I said quietly. In my name, using my identity, your address, your phone number. Linda's hand flew to her mouth. Valerie blinked hard, stunned. Tessa whispered, "Oh my God." My dad stammered. That was a misunderstanding, a simple, you forged my signature. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. And you took nearly $8,000. His face contorted, not with guilt but with the panic of being caught. You didn't need it as much as we did. There it was. The truth he never meant to say out loud. The kind of truth that rips the last thread holding a relationship together. The hallway suddenly felt colder, like winter had slipped inside the building. Ellie pressed into my side, tiny fingers squeezing the fabric of my shirt. I rested my hand gently on her head. Steady, present, unshaken. You stole from your own daughter, I said. And you justified it because you thought I wouldn't fight back. He lunged forward, trying to grab the papers, but I pulled them away. Too slow. He was always too slow when it came to accountability. You listen to me, he began. I already filed it, I said. Silence. Real silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. Filed what? He choked. A report, I said. Yesterday morning. I attached the documents, the handwriting samples, the transfers. Whatever happens next isn't up to me. Linda gasped. Valerie whispered a shaky prayer. Tessa took a full step back like the truth was contagious. Why Dad stared at me. Not like a father, but like someone finally realizing the person he'd underestimated his entire life had stepped out of his shadow. You wouldn't, he said, but it sounded less like a threat and more like a plea. I met his eyes. Steady, unbroken. I would do anything to protect my daughter, even from you. Ellie tugged my sleeve again, her voice barely above a whisper. Mom, can we close the door now? I looked at her, then at him. Yes, baby, I said. And I closed the door, slowly, deliberately. Finally, he didn't stop it. He didn't have the right. And when the lock clicked into place for the first time in my life, it felt like it was locking for us. Not against them. When the door clicked shut, the silence afterward didn't feel like fear. It didn't feel like guilt. It didn't feel like the usual chaos that followed every confrontation with my parents. It felt clean. Like someone had wiped the air around us. Like the whole apartment exhaled with me. Like a chapter that should have ended years ago finally sealed itself shut. Ellie leaned into my side, her small hand wrapped tight around the hem of my sweater. She wasn't shaking anymore. Just holding on. I carried her back inside, locked the door again. And this time the sound was soft, final, safe. For the first time in years, the lock wasn't for keeping danger out. It was for keeping peace in. The days that followed, a different kind of quiet. The next few weeks moved gently. My parents stayed silent. No calls. No apologies. No long messages filled with guilt or manipulation. Just nothing. Except distant relatives sending half-hearted, passive-aggressive texts about family unity. Texts I didn't even bother opening. Valerie posted a vague quote online about disrespectful daughters. Some long paragraph about loyalty and gratitude. She must have thought it would make her look like the victim. But people started asking questions. Real questions she couldn't answer. Tessa deleted half her comments when she realized she didn't actually know the truth. Only the version my parents fed her. Marissa, my sister, was the only one who checked in sincerely. One evening, she dropped groceries at my door. She shifted her weight, like she was carrying a confession she'd waited years to say. Dad tried something similar with me, she admitted. Quietly. Alone. In my name. I caught it early. She shrugged, tired. He never got the chance to take more. It wasn't comforting, but it was honest. And sometimes honesty is the closest thing to healing you'll get from a damaged family. Inside our home, something softened. Life inside our little apartment changed in ways I didn't expect. Ellie started painting again, big, bright circles of color, swirls of pink and teal and gold. The kind of colors children use when they feel safe. Her teacher called to tell me one of Ellie's paintings was chosen for the winter art show. I blinked back, tears in the middle of the call to the show. She stood next to her piece with her hands clasped behind her back, her smile small but proud. The kind of smile that told me she finally felt seen. I was proud of her. Proud of us. Around the same time, I got a raise at work. More responsibility, more stability, more security. A life not built on bailing out adults who refused to grow up. Our home felt lighter, brighter, warmer. We weren't missing anything. We finally had everything we needed. A year later, a different kind of Christmas winter came back around before I realized it. The night we decorated our small Christmas tree again, the living room glowed with soft yellow light, the kind that makes everything feel warmer than it is. Ellie reached into the ornament box and pulled out a new ornament, a tiny gold unicorn she'd saved up her allowance to buy. She held it gently, like it was precious. She placed it on a branch, stepped back, and smiled with that glow she only gets when she's proud of herself. "Do you like it, Mom?" she asked as I looked at her glowing face, her soft pajamas, the safe home wrapped around us. "I love it," I said. And I meant it, because standing there, watching her shine in the warmth of a home finally free from chaos, I understood something clearly. Family isn't defined by who shares your blood. Family is defined by who shows up, who protects you, who loves without conditions, and who doesn't disappear when it matters. Sometimes the bravest thing you can ever do is walk away from the people who refuse to be those things. We didn't lose anything when we cut ties. We gained peace. We gained stability. We gained freedom. We gained us. Just me and Ellie, building a life made of love, not guilt, presence, not excuses, healing, not hurt. If you've ever chosen your peace over their chaos, you're not alone. You are stronger than you think. You are braver than you know. And if this story touched you, please subscribe for more. You belong here.